We are back with Kelly Hunt. The new album is Ozark Symphony. Um, how often do you find that emotional side of you at conflict with your rational mind?
Hmm. A lot, I'd say, most of the time. I think I'm kind of um if you were to try to split it into a side of the brain, I think I'm probably verge right brained, but I'm very strongly left brained too. So I've got kind of this tension between my intellect and my like sort of innate desire for things to make sense and to be understandable. To I want to understand things. I have a curiosity about things, but also I'm a deeply feeling and kind of feeling driven person. So I feel like I am often at odds with myself. And I mean, that's my own civil war on this record. It's really kind of all about that. It's based on a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote. It's I call it the my head to my heart letter. I think if you Google that, you could probably find it. But it's essentially this letter he wrote that is entirely a dialogue between his head and his heart, and they're like diametrically opposed, and trying to like convince the other to do their bidding. And so it's this interesting um, kind of perspective of exactly that, of kind of the war between the head and the heart. Which I feel like I live on a daily basis for sure, in one way or another.
Yeah, it's a war I think all of us wind up fighting in some way or another. I'm pretty sure my head tends to win. Um, but Um, what are some of the ways that you're able to, playing on a line in your song, keep your heart caged if you have to? And is that something you'd actually ever want to do?
Hmm. Gosh, these are great questions. I don't want to have a caged heart, so to speak. No, um, but I do think finding some sort of harmony between um, the head and the heart. That's a desirable place to be. I think finding that balance of where there isn't that kind of conflict, the middle way is probably the best way to go. And so I think no, I want to have a free heart, but also a free mind and an open mind. And I think that balance is one that requires constant engagement to kind of hold that balance. I think it's like um but that's what I strive for, what I want. What I think everybody wants is to be at peace, to have a sense of inner harmony. But it takes a lot of questing and energy and really kind of life experience, hopefully, wisdom to get there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um, are you someone who feels a lot of unrequited love?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. I think a lot of my songs are about that, and I think um that ties back into a sense of longing. And I think really, there's and always has been since I was a child. I think just kind of this fundamental part of my nature that is has always felt a little out of place. And I think it's part of what drives my creative life and my imagination. And I've always had a very rich kind of inner life. And I was the kind of kid that could just be by myself for hours and be totally entertained in my own mind and being and creating and doing things. And so I think that's kind of, to some degree, ingredient to the creative life, is to be able to go into that. I think one of my favorite writers, Carson McCullers, one of the characters in her book, she talks about the inner room, her inner room, and it's just that kind of like secret space within herself where she escapes to kind of And I think, yeah, that's always been my tendency, is to kind of draw into that space and feel like that's where I could be myself and feel, but then of course we're built for community and built for connection. And so I think it's always been my default to kind of feel apart from things, and maybe um it's harder for me to feel like I belong, and some and I think we all feel that to varying degrees, but um yeah, that's kind of just been a defining aspect of my sort of personality, I think, from since I can remember, is a feeling kind of like I was felt, yeah, a part of from things. I don't know how else to put it. But so yeah, I think a lot of that sense of longing and that restlessness is rooted in that uh, sensibility, what for whatever reason.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like I'm also a very in my head sort of creature, and I could relate to some of these themes. I don't know if I'm the best at unrequited love. Not the best at loving anything besides my cat, but um, it is it is nice to hear the echoes of someone else's mind to sort of keep your own echoing mind company at times.
Sure, sure,
And
absolutely.
an actual human connection that doesn't just involve listening to those echoes couldn't soothe it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really one of the great powers of art of any kind of, is that, of, I love reading books and sort of that. I can remember having those, and I still have these feelings all the time, but like the first time that I listened to a piece of music and felt like, whoa, this makes me feel something that I feel like I'm feeling what they were feeling, or reading a book where, you feel like that character is, their thought processes could have been taken out of your brain, like that sense of connection of like, whoa, I'm not the only one that feels this way or thinks this way. Or I think those are really powerful moments of yeah, just a feeling like, yeah, you're not alone. And that's such an important thing, but art has the power to really kind of bring that to the forefront and create those opportunities for connection and solidarity. And that's just, it's so important. We need that.
Well, I like to close out my interviews by having the artist choose a song they had nothing to do with creating that sort of fits the theme of their album. So give me a nice longing song.
Oh, exactly the one. I've been singing it all morning. Boots of Spanish Leather, Bob Dylan.
It's a Spanish Leather. All right. Kelly
Mhm.
Hunt, thanks so much for coming on. The new album is Ozark Symphony.